we did a single node cluster installed onto CentOS 9 Stream. In this video, we're going to do the same OS, CentOS 9 Stream. We're going to install a multi-node cluster. So pretty similar installation, we just have more nodes. This time we're going to have one control plane node and 3 worker nodes. And there's a lot more explanation of the steps in the original video. You might want to go check out that single node cluster video. In this one, we're just going to go pretty quick. So just to show, at the Git repo for this demo, we are symbolically linked over to the files for the single node cluster. So we've got the same setup node script and the follow-up steps to perform the initialization, and the same YAML configurations for the metal LB. So in light of just going quickly, we're going to combine this step where we copy the initial setup node script over and the execution of that script into one command. We'll just go ahead and run that for each node. And we're not going to wait this time. I'll just skip the video ahead forward after this is complete on each node. Node configuration is completed on each of the nodes. Now it's time to initialize the cluster. And in our setup cluster configuration, we have here the first step. We're going to add the nodes to a hosts file. So not required if you're only using IPs, but I found it makes things better in general. So I'm just going to go ahead and complete that step as a best practice. And I've already secure shelled over to my nodes here, so we'll start the editing process. Looks good. All right, each of the nodes has the hosts file now. Go ahead and set our endpoint up. And I can use the host name here because I just added that in the previous step. If you're using IPs, you'd put the IP here. The worker nodes are going to have to be able to resolve this. And then we'll go ahead and perform the initialization. And as mentioned in the last video, for whatever reason on CentOS 9 Stream, you have to skip a couple phases, wait for the initialization to complete, and then run the 2 steps that you skipped. So I'll go ahead and run those on the control plane node all at once. And we'll skip forward the video so you don't have to wait for this to finish. And it results in a command that you can run to join additional control plane nodes here. And here's the one to join additional worker nodes. So we'll go ahead and run the worker node command on each worker node. We're going to run them one at a time. I read once that you don't want to run them all at the same time. So we'll be cautious and heed that advice. All right, and I wanted to show that the cluster is up at this point. No, copy this command for later, or at least this path, I mean. All right, and that last node had joined, and you can see they're all not ready. That's because we need to run a CNI. And actually, we need to run one more command. With CentOS 9 stream, I found, at least with the CNI that we're going to use, Calico, that you have to run this additional command. So we'll go ahead and run that on each of the nodes. And just some advice, I've stretched out the terminal that I'm working in so that when I copy paste this node, it doesn't accidentally add in a line wrap there. So you might try that when you're running that command. And at this point, we want to use Helm to install the CNI, which is running on my machine. So I need to copy over the kube config, which I'll do here. So I'm using this available and enabled folder in the same way that Apache does. I have a script that will merge multiple Kubernetes configurations into one file, and I use these folders to do that. Before I run that merge script, I'm going to rename the default values. I'm renaming everything from Kubernetes to the name of the cluster, and I'm using k-demo for that. And then just because I prefer it, I'm getting rid of this at k-demo. Now we can run the merge script and switch into the context of this new demo cluster. And there we go. It's ready to go, except there's no CNI. So let's do that next. We already have Helm here, and I've already updated it, so all I need to do is run the Helm command that will install the CNI. And we need that to be finished before we run the metal LB configuration, so we'll just go ahead and watch for that to come up. All right, we need that to come up. Otherwise, when we run the metal LB steps, it won't be able to start a pod. So this is explained a little more in the last video. I'm just going to go ahead and jump ahead. We've got a Helm repo, a couple configuration files, and the IP address that we need. Those are already set in the metal LB subfolder of the Git repo with the load balancer IP range we want to use. So let's go ahead and install it using the Helm command. Wait for that to come up before we apply the two configurations, the L2 advertisement and the IP range. If you try to apply them before it's running, it won't work. So that's why I have this sleep command here. And I found it really only takes about 20 seconds, but it can vary a little bit, so I added in some buffer there. But we'll just go ahead and run the commands manually. So everything's running, but it's not ready yet on one of them, so we'll just give it another moment here. All right, so let's apply those. Just select the folder. Should apply both of them. There we go. Now we can allocate a load balancer IP if we want. These other steps are optional, explained more in the first video. But otherwise, we are done. Have fun.